How you doing? Thank you for watching this. Today, we're going to cover on some of the verses before our lessons. So let's look at this verse. 1 John chapter 4. 1 John chapter 4, we're looking at verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone into the world. For such are false apostles. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. That's what Paul gave warning to the church in Corinth, to the saints in Corinth. So he gave warning and to watch out for fake teachers, or really just to give warning to those to the church in Corinth. So let's read 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Verse 13, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostle of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his minister also be transformed as minister of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. I say again, let no man think me a fool. If otherwise, yet as a fool receive me, that I may boast myself a little. That which I speak not after the Lord, but as a word foolishly, and this confidence of boasting. Seeing that many glory after the flesh, I will glory also. That's what Apostle Paul wrote. For you suffer fools gladly, seeing you yourself are wise. For you suffer if a man brings you into a bondage. If a man devours you, if a man take of you, if a man exalt himself, if a man smites you on the face. So when Apostle Paul wrote to the church of Corinth, what he meant to get you on if a man bring you bondage, not just physically, but also under the law, also legalism. Also, if men bring you into a bondage, not just physically in the chains, or not just physically behind prison, but also bondage of the law, bondage of legalism. So let's look at the next verse. Philippians chapter 1, verse 15. Verse 15. Some indeed preach Christ even of envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. So we can see you have preachers up there that teach with hate and with strife and so forth. They teach with hate. They're not teaching with love. So verse 15, some indeed preach Christ even with envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. The one preach Christ of contention and not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds. So you have preachers out there that do teach hate. They do teach in a hateful. They do teach in a strife matter. So let's look at verse 17. But other of love. But other of love. Knowing that I'm set for defense of the gospel. What then? Notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached, and I therein do rejoice, yet I will rejoice. So we see that, what Paul wrote to the the Philippi, to the church in Philippi, he's writing, okay, there's apostles out there. I mean, there's teachers out there that teach Christ with hate. They teach with strife. They teach with contention. And what happened? Their teaching brings you under the bondage and brings you under this legalism. So you see that. And the thing is, you make you test it. You see how it brings you under the bondage. How they bring you under legalism. But how they the way some do teach. So the thing is, if that happens, I'll switch the channel, or I'll just change the church. So Galatians, stand fast therefore in liberty, wherewith Christ hath made us free, and not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Again, in Galatians chapter 5, Apostle Paul, he talks about liberty. He talks about don't be yoked with the bondage. What bondage? Bondage of the law. Bondage of legalism. So, second verse. Behold, I, Paul, saying to you that if you are circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. What's circumcised? Circumcised being under the law. Circumcision, it came during the time of Moses. So everybody, all the Israelites had to be circumcised. So it was a covenant, was the agreement between God and the Israelites. But now the agreement, it's not on physical. It's agreement through Christ, So, and circumcision is not of physical, but really it's of the heart, It's really it's agreement, of Christ, what Jesus done on the cross. So let's look verse 2. Behold, I, Paul, say to you that if you be circumcised, Christ shall profit you nothing. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised that he is a debtor to do the whole law, the entire law. What law? The 10 Commandments. Christ become of no effect unto you whosoever are justified by the law. You are fallen from grace. So, justify means validate, to be validated, to be justified, So, when you hear, a preacher that teach hate and strife and bring on the bondage of legalism, bring on the bondage of the law, I would change church. I would switch the channel, because as we're reading what Paul wrote to the church in Galatia, also to the church in Philippi, he gave him warning. If stay away from those teachers. If they're not teaching love, if they're not teaching love that for defense of the gospel, if they're not teaching grace, and liberty in Jesus, if they teach hate and bondage of the law, bondage of legalism, stay away from that, So we can learn that what Apostle Paul meant in the New Testament, So what's New Testament? New agreement. So anyway, I hope this helps you, and hopefully you guys understand this. So now, hopefully this will help you and educate you. Thank you guys so much. You have a good day.